Alright guys, so I'm sure you probably heard that Xbox Live is having an event for the next 6 months until Xbox One comes out, where Xbox Gold members can download 2 free games per month. These games come out on the 1st and on the 16th, and the first one that came out already is Fable 3. I guess after the window is passed, you can no longer download the games. So I just give you guys a shout out and letting you know why you should pick up Fable 3. Fable 3 is your classic RPG third-person game where you have swords, magic, and in this case like 17th century firearms, which are interestingly semi-automatic in your arsenal. If I was going to give it a score, I would say 8 out of 10, and the game is basically fun. That's the best way to describe it. Not super challenging, just a good time. It doesn't take itself seriously at all. It has a lot of zany dialogue and makes fun of the RPG and video game genre a lot. Has easy controls, very intuitive. There's an interesting chicken theme that goes on throughout the entire game, which is sort of entertaining in and of itself. The combat controls are pretty intuitive. You basically press down, well, A lets you evade roll in any direction, and then X swipes the sword, Y shoots your pistol or rifle, and B engages a magic attack in the direction in which your movement stick is pointing. The main wrinkle in the combat controls is holding down the button to build up a more powerful attack, which is a trade-off between being immobile for a while but having a much more powerful attack. The storytelling is solid. The game has the classic story of a prince or princess who must overcome all possible odds against a tyrannical ruler to overthrow that tyrant and take the throne herself or himself. And there's a lot of moral decisions you make along the way, which are, they're fairly compelling and having to make it difficult to choose between the two sides. I'll talk more about that later on. And it keeps up the Fable tradition of letting you choose your appearance beyond the base model. You have a base model for female and male, but then after that you can dye your hair, you can choose different hairstyles, you can choose different clothes, you can dye the clothes different things, you can wear a chicken suit, you can basically do whatever you want to look either beautiful or like a clown. You also have weapons which are customizable, and you can unlock higher and higher versions of them by doing various things. One thing to note, there's a serious lack of attractive people in the Fable universe. Most of them are short, tubby, and rather homely. So if you plan to get married, which you can, in the modern theme of gaming, it allows you to be married to either a person of the opposite sex or someone of the same sex. Well, you want to seriously consider the default romance option, which you'll meet at the beginning of the game, because if you kill them off, which you can in about the first 10 minutes, you will be forced to choose among one of the atrocities of nature which inhabit the rest of the world. And thus, they're pretty much the only attractive person in the game, except for a couple prostitutes, which, whatever. That's that. And basically, it's a relaxing game. You really can't die very much. And yeah, you just can't die. You get knocked down, lose some progress to a guild seal, which you gain hundreds of, so it's not very bad. You might you might get scarred from getting knocked down, but since there are weapons which prevent scarring if you unlock them high enough, that's not that big of a concern. And that brings me to the cons when discussing the game. First is, there's no real consequence for dying. That's what I just said was what it is. And I like to be worried about dying in combat. It makes me have some incentive to stay alive and not be reckless and stupid. And another con is limited expression. So you can walk up to villagers and interact with them. Push A, and you have this little floating icons which allow you to shake their hand or fart in their face and basically do evil or good things to make them love you or hate you. But as it turns out, you only can do one evil or one good expression at a time, and then one playful expression, I guess. And this is a real setback from Fable 2, where you unlocked all these expressions, and you had a whole wheel of them you could choose, and so you could always choose your favorite expression right off the bat. And this one, you unlock these expressions, and you feel like, ooh, I have all these expressions unlocked, but then you have to go through them one at a time to get to the one you wanted to do, which is a bit disappointing. That's a step back from the previous game. And the game does start slowly. It really does. Like, it takes a while to get you to the castle, to get out of bed, to have your butler talk about what outfit you're going to wear today, walk down to the lawn, walk to the garden to meet the little lover, etc., etc., etc. And that just takes time. So, but once it gets going, it's a lot of fun. So, and some of the mechanics I'm just ambivalent about. Like, for example, the dog dig spot mechanic. What annoys me is that I can't walk past it. It's the whole random thing of the lottery or whatever. It might be something good. Usually it's something stupid like a tiny common gem or a 50 gold, and you have millions, so you don't really care. But sometimes it's something cool like a hairstyle you can't find anywhere else, or a random rare weapon. You just don't know. So I'm addicted to stopping and digging every dumb dig spot that my dog sniffs at. And I really wish he would just have some common sense and know that I'm only interested in awesome things. Everything else, leave. So there you go. On the whole, pretty good game. Like I said, 8 out of 10. And just a lot of fun, enjoyable, so get it while you can.
Warning. Warning. Be advised, you are entering a spoiler zone. If you wish to play this game without any preconceived notions of how to approach its problems with a fresh slate, please do not watch the following section.
You see you're past the obligatory spoiler warning. So, the main moral quandary in the game is that when you become King of Albion, yes, you do become King or Queen of Albion, spoiler, you conquer the evil tyrant, you are forced to save the kingdom by raising enough money to defeat the army of darkness that which arrives at the game's end. So basically, your choices which you make, and whether or not you keep the promises you made to all these people, notice all these promises, you could begin with a lot of them. And unfortunately, all the promises are expensive, and your goal is to achieve a very large treasury at the end of the game. So basically, the game tries to force you to either be angel and keep all your promises, but then wind up killing almost everyone because you have no money to defend the kingdom, or be an evil, harsh tyrant like Stalin, make all these unpopular choices which hurt people at the time, but then turn out to be for their ultimate good at the end. So, the way around this is simple. I learned from Fable 2 that once you buy a shop or a house, whatever, you can collect rent, and then use that rent to buy another one, and then so on and so forth, and then pretty soon you get a lot of money at a time, so you can buy bigger shops, and by the game's end, you can have a real estate empire and own everything in Albion, to where you practically make millions of gold every 5 minutes, to where it's no problem at all to sign off huge checks to the treasury defense effort, be the complete angel which everyone expects you to be, and still save the kingdom. So pretty much starting the game, I always work at one of these jobs as soon as possible, earn a bunch of money, buy a couple houses, collect the rent, and because the individual house isn't so bad as far as on your moral standing, if you want to be good, I always just raise the rent to the highest level right off the bat, so you basically get maximum income coming in early, to kickstart your program. And in this Fable universe, the weird economics, you don't get punished for raising your prices to extremely high levels. People don't go anywhere else, so there's no reason not to do it. And then if you want to be good later on, you can lower them down. So there's that, and the only reason to be bad, really, is to have these really, really awesome demon wings that pop out whenever you max out your flourish at the end of the game. So, that's actually a good reason to be bad, besides the obvious fact that it's usually more fun to be bad than good. I would be negligent to not tell you that you have angel wings that pop out if you've been good the whole time. Alright, one last thing to avoid frustration and anger. There is a little counter on the top of the screen when you're king or queen, which tells you the number of days which are going to happen before the attack. Unfortunately, time passes at much faster increments than 1 day at a time. So when it gets down to like 100 days away, you really should be 100% ready, because suddenly the time warps and then they attack almost instantly, like 90 days away. So that's something to be aware of. I think that's all the spoilers I can help you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed this little introduction, and I will hopefully do these again for some of the other free games. See you guys later.